How's it going, Patrick Findaro?
Doing well, Alaattin.
Cool. All good. Patrick, we're doing something interesting today. As the title would suggest, H-1B holders don't panic. Here's what you can do. There's a raging debate here in America in the immigration landscape. It's about the H-1B program, as you know. You got the likes of Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy and even, Donald Trump, the MAGA movement. It's there are different camps. There are people who are for it, supporters of it, people who are critics of it, and then there are those who are worried about the very future of this particular program. So this is why we're here today with Patrick Findaro. We're gonna take a deeper dive into what is happening, what are both camps are thinking, what is likely to happen for the future, and what are some of the alternative routes that some of our prospective clients or some of our audience can take the control of their immigration fate. How do you
Yeah, I
like
think
that intro, Patrick?
no, it's good. I think for today's discussion, it's the focus on the positives, the actions, and if you're a top talent individual, high skilled professional, currently on H-1B, or maybe you're graduating from a master's program, thinking about H-1B, we're going to talk about the current environment as well as some options to really take control of your own American dream. So not relying on other people. That's a big theme that we have at Visa Franchise. So I'm excited, and it's crazy. This discussion really took, it was like Jan 1 or 2 that, not even a day, 2 days into the year. And it was the biggest discussion with Musk and bringing in Trump and really a pain point for the Republican Party as there's some strife on this issue with H-1B. So looking forward to discussing
Correct.
it today.
Yeah, so it's interesting. It's interesting, definitely. There are critics of the program, and the critics of the program are basically saying that the program is being exploited to hire cheaper foreign labor at the expense of American workers, and H-1B workers are often underpaid. Um, we don't know if that is accurate at all, with salary thresholds generally lower than what American counterparts might earn. Visa holders face significant exploitation due to their dependency on employer sponsorship, limiting job mobility and negotiation power, which I think I understand and I agree. And then one of the other things that they were talking about, the program may displace US workers in tech and related fields, while some companies use it as a cost cutting measure rather than the addressing skill shortage. Now, these are the critics of the H-1B program. What say you, Patrick Findaro? You think that makes sense?
I mean, I think with any program, especially government program, there's going to be people that take advantage of it. But for college graduates, and this is going back to when I graduated college 2010, it was the only visa option really available for my fellow colleagues that weren't American citizens or green card holders.
Mm-hmm.
So it is, as of today, the primary path for U.S. college graduates coming from abroad to stay in the U.S. and to be able to shut that off. And they're already dealing with a lottery system that for undergrads, what's a 20% chance of getting, if you have a master's degree, it gets a little higher. So it's already a very daunting task for a U.S. International student to be able to get the H-1B, where it doesn't make sense that, we could be sending back the future Elon Musk, who was on an H-1B. So to the extent that the program can be reformed and, getting rid of the bad, but also, increasing the cap, making exemptions beyond just, if you work at a non-for-profit, that could be like a university, you're exempt. And there's some manipulation with that. But there are minimal exemptions from the lottery cap, 85,000. So I think that there is potential for some tremendous reform, and it's a great vehicle to bring top talent as well as to retain top talent in the United States.
Right. I would definitely agree with that. And you basically summed it up. I mean, you basically summed up what the supporters of the program would say. It says, addresses the critical skill shortage in the industry is essential to the U.S. innovation and global competitiveness. Foreign workers bring specialized expertise that helps companies grow, contributing significantly to the economy. And many U.S.-based um, startups and major tech companies were founded by former H-1B holders. And here's the supporting data for you. According to National Foundation for American Policy, nearly 50% of startups valued at over $1 billion were founded by immigrants, many of whom entered the US on H-1B visas. Another study by Brookings Institution found out that 71% of H-1B visa holders work in STEM fields. On the flip side, a report from Economic Policy Institute claims that 60% of H-1B employers pay below market wages, fueling criticism of the program wage standards. There's definitely pros and cons to it, and some people like it and some people question it, but it is what it is. H-1B is H-1B. But today, we're not necessarily here to talk about the H-1B and what the future of the program is going to be like. Today, we're here to talk about why people should seek alternative visa routes. And based on your experience, Patrick Findaro, what are some of those talent-based visas that could become alternatives to the H-1B?
Well, it was funny, and I wanted to comment directly to Musk on X.com, but he says this is the path to bring the top 0.1% of let's bring in the actual what he says here. So maybe this is a helpful clarification, referring to bringing in via legal immigration the top 0.1% of engineering talent as being essential for America to keep winning. And he makes a comparison to some of the top NBA players that are coming abroad to support the American team or the different companies. And there already is a visa for this. You're on this visa category, the O1
Right.
visa. So, if you're in the top 1%, even top 5% of what you do, there's a strong possibility that you're eligible for the O1 visa. Or if you work on yourself, work on your personal branding, try to push to have an increased salary, get that increased raise, there are mechanisms to really set yourself up for the O1 visa, which is much more versatile than an H-1B and has a direct path to green card without sponsorship of the company. Many H-1B employees are at the whim of their employer, and they can switch to employers, bring their H-1B, but the green card sponsorship is generally done through the employer, through the EB-2 or EB-3 category, where the O1 you can really take fate into your own hands and do an EB-1A green card. So I don't know if you want to elaborate a little bit on the O1.
Yeah, absolutely.
You went through the process yourself last
Yeah,
year.
I went through the O1 process myself, 100%. It is a visa category. This is what I understand. Um, if you're somebody who's successful, if you're somebody who's ambitious, if you're somebody, you know, who is, contributing to the very society that you live in, you work on yourself and you work on your own skills. I think there is an O1 argument for anybody really who possesses, extraordinary talent. So, what is an extraordinary talent or extraordinary ability? That's been the question, and I think that is also going to be a raging debate in the upcoming years as the O1 visa becomes more popular. But essentially, think of it like this: if you're a painter, you're painting walls. If you excelled at painting walls, you could be eligible for the O1 visa. If you're a cybersecurity expert, if you're a, I don't know, software guy, IT guy, or YouTuber, whatever you are, if and one thing I like about the O1 visa is that it's sort of like sets a standard and shows you the way and what you need to do to become a better version of yourself. So it's kind of in a way that you prepare yourself, you get better and better, and then qualify for a visa like O1, if you're not already qualified, right? Certain people are already qualified, but they just don't know. A lot of people suffer from imposter syndrome. I mean, some of our prospects, I talk to them from time to time. They're like, "Oh, Len, I don't have any extraordinary abilities. I'm a software engineer." I'm like, "You could be an extraordinarily talented software engineer. Let's just go through the criteria and see." And then we go through the criteria. Oh, shoot. They do work at a critical, at an essential capacity for a distinguished organization. They're getting paid far above the average. They have certain original contribution in their own fields. They're members of associations that would seek achievements. Sometimes they even have won certain awards. Like, we only need 3 of them, right? We don't need you to, fit in the full criteria or fulfill everything. And some of our clients or prospects do not necessarily fit in the criteria, and they're like, "Oh, okay, I have 2 criteria. How about I work on this one and this one? Would I be in a position in the next 6 months to a year to appeal?" Right? So it's definitely great program. It gives you the drive to sort of work on yourself and be better, and it's perfect.
And I think the big part too, Alaattin, is going to EB-1A, where it is a higher threshold to meet, but the criteria are nearly identical. Looking at the EB-1A category, and you went through some of them for the O1 that overlap,
Right.
but high salary, significant remuneration related to others in your field. If you're coming from Pakistan and you're getting 100K as a software developer, you're probably in the top 1% for software
Yeah.
developers in Pakistan. Maybe top, point one or even, 0.5. So that, that criteria, a lot of people can hit. And there's other criteria to hit where you got to have 3 of 10. And like yourself, most people applying for the EB-1A are going to try to have 4 or 5 really solid ones before they apply for this green card category.
Right. And the beautiful thing about the EB-1A is that apart from for the rest of the world, if you're not Indian or Chinese, it is current. Even if there is a backlog for people who are from India or China, but it's not
like
as
3 or 4 years for Indians, but
yeah.
a lot
but
of them on there, they're already here and they can port
it's
their
much less actually.
prior
It's much.
date.
I think a year and a half. Must be a year and a half or 2.
India for EB-1A, we're looking at
2 years.
2022.
No, 3 years.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's got
And
3-year backlog.
that could move, but for the rest, it's current.
Yeah.
So we're talking about a year, 12, 18 months to have a green card in your hand. And you should have a decision. You'll have a decision much faster on that in terms of if you meet the criteria and you get the initial petition approved.
Right. So yeah, that's the EB-1A. And then there is the EB-2 NIW, that the national interest waiver for those, again, who are not from India or China, who's waiting for the huge backlog. That
What type
is
of people
also,
should think more about EB-2 NIW versus EB-1A? They're both, 2 great options to be able to move to the United States through self-sponsorship.
sure. I mean, the EB-2 NIW, when you look at it at the face value, right? The NIW stands for what? National Interest Waiver. So the whole idea is that they would waive the perm process, right? So you need to make a good argument, and that argument is often associated with that. Okay, I'm gonna, give you a green card and waive the employment contract, but you need to show that what you're doing is going to greatly benefit the United States of America, and it should be in the area of national interest. And what are those? Well, those can be pretty much from the world of finance to tech to STEM, now AI. So if you have been if you excelled at your field, and if you're operating in some of those areas, and if you fit the other criteria as well, there could definitely be an argument there.
And I guess the downside for Indian nationals, for those born in India, the expectation is 10 plus years. Some people estimate 50 years. So it doesn't really become a great option by any means. And then China is also further retrogressed, but the other places in the world, it's retrogressed, but not so bad. It's like a year and a half. Looking at the visa bulletin.
If you already started the green card process with H-1B, can you still switch to another visa? Do you want to answer this?
Yeah, so I mean, it's a little delicate, and we've had clients always working with an immigration counsel on the process with deciding on. Essentially, there's some visas that are dual intent, like the L1 visa, H-1B, and other ones that aren't. They're non-immigrant. The intent is that you go back home, like the F1 student visa. So, going from H-1B to student visa when you've already started the green card process, is it possible? Yes. Is it delicate and you gotta do everything really correctly? What we've had clients do is more to the E2 visa or the O1 visa. And as long as they haven't already filed an adjustment of status or applied at the consulate abroad for the green card interview, they haven't had a problem with obtaining that visa. But for that type of case, I would definitely, and we're happy to organize with that visa franchise, a consultation with an immigration attorney to really get in the nitty gritty to make sure that you're not having issues with being out of status or, problems with your intention to what you're saying to the U.S. government you're going to do and actually doing something different.
Cool. Thanks for that information, Patrick. And one thing, if I need to add something there, and you say if you already started the green card process with H-1B, I assume it refers to EB-2. Maybe the perm is being filed, and that's an immigrant visa, right? And then the question would be, what can you switch it to? Non-immigrant visas. Again, these are questions to immigration attorneys, but based on our experience, you could technically switch to another immigrant visa category. And that could be an EB-1.
We've had our own clients do that, where EB-2 NIW is taking too long, and they switch over to EB-1A. Yeah. And I can think of one case, for example, he was on an E2 visa, and went EB-2 NIW, got approved, but it was taking too long, and switched over to EB-1A. So whether it's the actual visa, non-immigrant visa switching over, or immigrant, it's good to kind of better understand the full story. And then Gaston is asking, what's the main difference between the H-1B and the O1 visa? Maybe you want to take a stab at that, Alaattin.
Yeah, sure. There are a couple major differences, right? There are similarities, of course, but a couple major differences. Number one, H-1B is capped, and it's through a lottery, and it does require sponsorship. It does require an employment contract. Your visa is kind of tied to that employer. However, when you look at the qualifications that are sought or the criteria that is sought, it may not be as strict as O1 visa. If you got the lottery, you could technically have a smoother way to come to the US. Another good thing with the H-1B is that the H-1B is a dual intent visa, which means that you can easily pursue an immigrant intent and apply for green cards and etc. O1, on the other hand, although technically it's a non-immigrant visa and it's not a dual intent visa, but it has been seen by the USCIS and the immigration community, and there's a common consensus that it's been seen as a bridge visa. So it could technically be viewed as a dual intent visa too. The biggest advantage that the O1 would have over H-1B is definitely having the ability to, switch employers, bounce contracts, do it with your own company. Your own company would sponsor you. There is definitely a lot of flexibility when it comes to the O1 visa. It's being geared towards those who have not only have been successful in their own field, but also who have entrepreneurial aspirations too, who would need that kind of flexibility to, bounce contracts, change jobs, and use their own companies or use an agent petitioner. Yeah, and then the O1 would sort of like put you in a path where, provided you continue working on your profile, down the line, you're looking at the biggest prize of it all, the EB-1A green card, right? So, yeah, I'd say these are the main differences of the H-1B and O1. And I'd definitely say that, O1, it's not capped. It's no lottery. It's about you, how successful you are, and it gives you the ultimate flexibility.
Yeah, and just to echo, the flexibility, Aladdin, we've had success with all different types of structures for that one visa, but one would be us acting as the business manager. So our related entity acts as a sponsor for our clients, and we basically can petition for you, and you can do all different types of work. It could be part-time work, have different consulting arrangements. Maybe you got laid off from a tech company and you're going to still do some work for that company, but you're also going to build your book. We can build that into the plan, and it provides a good degree of flexibility. So our visa franchise related entity acting as the business manager. We've also had good success representing and acting on behalf of the foreign entity. So we have some really successful entrepreneurs. They have companies, could be 500K, $1 million, $10 million in revenue. And we're going to represent that foreign entity to bring over one of the executives. It could be the owner themselves. So that's a popular mechanism, as well as just being sponsored straight up by your US employer. And then the fourth path is setting up a company and effectively self-sponsoring. But it gets a little complicated because you have to set up a board and you have to be able to be fired from the company. So we usually don't see that option as much. But there's 4 different ways to structure the O1, at least that I know of. And what we constantly see, Alaattin, and I'm sure you can attest to that, there are attorneys that might be comfortable with 1 or 2 of the options. And for us, our general counsel is comfortable all 4. And based on the client's case, we can bring in attorneys that really know 1 or 2 of those structures really well and have, a 95, 100% success rate with that proposed structure.
Yeah, thanks for explaining that, Patrick. And one good thing about the O1 visa is that I don't know if our audience is familiar with what is happening with it. And also, we need to have another live about the recent developments on the O1 front. I think, Patrick, O1 is being geared towards to be the ultimate visa where, down the line, it could even replace the H-1B program. And it is being updated all the time. And
I'm surprised there's not more. I think we were going through the numbers. I think it's like 33,000 issuances.
Yeah. And it's like double from last year.
And there's some countries that really dominate, like the UK, where I think just a lot of people don't know about the option. And it was like for you, where I was the one that introduced you to the O1
Yeah,
visa. You came to us wanting to invest in a franchise for the E2 visa. And I said,
correct.
hey, that's an option, but there's also other options that we can explore. And you were going to go through the business manager and do different consulting projects. And then we ended up sponsoring you for your
Right.
O1.
And then we ended up working together.
Yeah,
Um,
full circle.
Somebody now is asking about. By the way, before we move on to that particular question, people are often asking about my background and my professional background and what I used to do. Guys, I've been in the investor migration industry for a long time. CBI programs, foreign residency programs, and golden visas and E2s and EB-5s, you name it. So it's just that I moved here to the US, um, and got the O1 visa. It's not like you're talking to a student who's got an O1 visa who doesn't know anything about the migration industry. On the contrary, I know about the global migration industry, which the US is a pretty big player of, and all of these. See, we need to understand one thing here is that every country wants to attract talent. However way they want to do it, whatever they want to call it, they will have their visas for talent, and then they will have their visas for investors. In the US, it's E2s and EB-5s, and in the UK, there are different names for it. In Turkey, in Dubai, it's got different names for it. Call it whatever you want to call it. If you're somebody who's got skills and talent and you can show it and you can document it, you can come to America. If you got money to invest and efforts to put in, you can definitely come to America. Based on that, here's another question, Patrick. Are there any downsides to switching from H-1B to E-2 visa? I think the question needs a little bit of elaborating,
Yeah.
but
Well, I
yeah,
think you know, E2, you're an entrepreneur now. So you're tied to your own business. Your spouse can work, which is a big benefit for the E2 visa. Certain H-1B spouses can work, particularly those from India that have a very long adjudicating time for the green cards. But the E2 visa, Alaattin, you mentioned the dual intent nature. There can be some complications when you go through the green card there with travel. All things readily to all things that can be resolved. I can't think of any other downsides though. Can you?
well, apart from the downsides, depends who the primary applicant is, right? If you're the primary applicant, switching from H-1B to E-2, your visa is kind of tied to your own investment and your own entity. So its success is going to determine the future of your immigration, right? So that's one thing. It may not give you flexibility again. If you were complaining about the flexibility on the H-1B, E2, if you're only for the principal applicant, right, isn't necessarily as flexible, much more flexible. But if your spouse is the principal applicant, then you get a work authorization, which is the ultimate, the best flexible option that is out there. You can do work with whomever so you need to work with. You can work in the business. You could work for other businesses. I see more advantages than downsides, really.
Yeah, I would say it provides the ultimate degree of flexibility. And we have some very successful entrepreneurs that the spouse will do the E2 visa, and that gives them the optionality to start different ventures. Maybe some fail, maybe some have crazy big exits, and they're able to have a lot of flexibility where,
Yeah.
maybe the spouse invested in a franchise, stable business, not sexy business, but a business that's going to be around for quite some time.
Yeah. Cool. Guys, if you have any other questions, please shoot them in. We would like to, take a look at them. But if not, we're going to move towards what Visa franchise can do for you. should you wish to seek alternatives, right? So, Patrick, do you want to sort of like talk about what our services entail and how we can help the H-1B holders who are looking for alternatives?
Yeah, I would say H-1B holders, but not even limited to that. You know, if you're considering H-1B, that's one option, but we don't know what's going to happen. You know, Trump got really, like, I had a close friend that got his H-1B denied for, you know, in the first Trump presidency, and he got really strict on H-1Bs where he didn't on O-1s or E-2 visas. He didn't touch those categories. It's not, there's not a, it's not, they're not politicized. So, you know, will it be H-1Bs be easier under this term with Trump or harder compared to Biden, compared to Trump's last term? Compared to Trump's last term, I think H-1B is going to be easier process, and there's potential that everything could change, but it's a potential. So, you know, take ownership over your own immigration path, do your own research, do your own homework. We're happy to help you. And the easiest is just going to our website, visafranchise.com, and you can hit the get started button and fill out what should take a 7-minute questionnaire, so we can get information on you, to see how we can best help you, or at least steer you in the right direction. So we'll have a discovery call, where it's to learn more about you, as well as it's the discovery solution. So we can present what might be the best option for you, what the different solutions that we offer clients applying, whether they're already residing in the US and they're going to switch to another career, another business, another visa category, if they're applying from abroad, helping people buying a franchise, starting your own independent business, green card by investment through the EB-5 program, visa for top talent, O-1, green card for top talent, EB-2, EB-1A. We're really focused on helping talented individuals, people at the top of the game, top performers, as well as entrepreneurs, investors, which generally are also top talent. So that's the easiest, filling out the questionnaire to see if there's a good mutual fit, and how we can best help you.
Before we carry on talking about how best we can help, Asif H has just commented, what is the future for Canadian applying for any kind of visa? Should we wait? Hint for the 51st state. I don't know. I don't know if you should wait. I was listening to Justin Trudeau yesterday. He was on CNN. Man, the most politically correct guy ever. I kind of feel bad for the guy as well. He speaks so well. He looks so good. Look, I didn't live in Canada. I don't know. You know, some people are pissed off. They're pissed off. I get it. I understand it. I got no dog in the fight. The guy, he looks good, and he almost wanted to cry. And you can see the conversation he had, you know, back in his home, and how his wife is probably worried about his psychology and mental state and all that. It's like,
I think they're even separated, so it's a big toll on him. Poor guy.
I don't know. I don't know. From afar, I'm like, again, that's based on what I see, right? But obviously, when you're running a country, you're running a country, right? So you piss a lot of people off. There are definitely, you know, every action triggers a reaction. Is that reaction going to be Canada becoming the 51st state of United States of America? I, for one, don't think so, my friend.
Yeah,
I don't think
at least
so.
it's going to take some time, and who knows if it's select provinces. I know there's certain provinces like Alberta that are more game than compared to the maritime provinces like Nova Scotia. But I want to count on that. If you know, it's again kind of echoing, you know, take this into your own hands, control what you can control. These are the options that you can execute today, to set yourself up, as well as your family, for success in the United States. So, you know, a lot of these what if scenarios, we know that the E2 visa is stable. We know that the O1 visa is stable. Over the past 10 years of data, approval data fluctuates 88 to 92% for those visa categories, where H-1B, you know, during Trump again went way down. So, there's a lot of variables, but there's certain things that have been constant, so we can kind of focus on those.
Yeah, and in terms of Canadians in general, Patrick, I don't know how to approach this, but I'm gonna say it anyway. Certain country, if you hold passports of certain countries, it's
Yeah,
harder. If you have passports of certain other countries, it's
definitely.
easier. What has your experience been on that, Patrick, in terms of Canadians? If you're holding a Canadian
Canada,
passport,
to my knowledge, to the best of my recollection, we've never had a final denial from Canada. We've maybe
mm,
had like 4 people that could, in the last, since we started the company in 2015, so over a 10-year period, representing hundreds of Canadians at this point, people applying in Toronto. We've had about 4 that denied the first time, and then they went back in. Maybe they had to invest more money. Maybe they had to, they botched the interview, and they weren't confident on how they were going to direct and develop their enterprise in the US. But it's, the investment threshold's usually a little more flexible, as low as 80K. We've had success even with some lesser cases. Where if you're applying in, say, Argentina, Pakistan, Turkey, you got to bring your A game, and it's that much more critical. You should probably invest more capital.
Turkey
Sadly,
is fine. Turkey is fine.
Turkey is fine. It's no Canada, but Turkey is
Yeah,
fine.
you're right. Hey, we're a NATO ally, and our guy is the biggest military, the second most powerful military in NATO. We're a NATO ally. Trump likes us. He's friends with Erdogan, so we're cool. I hope.
Yeah, time will tell.
um,
So we have from Armin, is the E2 visa a viable option for someone who has always been an employee and never run their own business? Yeah, definitely. I would recommend going the franchise path if you've never run your own business, especially as you're moving countries. You don't have the local know-how, potentially not the industry know-how. So a franchise can be a good initial path. But we've had a lot of Canadians that were employed, or people from all over the world, I should say, that were employees and moved to the U.S. And the franchise business was the first endeavor. Do I have any clients that just started a random independent business that were employees before? Yeah, in the e-commerce space, but they were kind of already starting slow, and they went into the e-commerce business and used that for the E2 visa. Besides that, they're generally going the franchise path. And then last question, how about EB-5 through regional center review for Canadian citizen? It's one of the 4 different green card categories that we work with, investor, employment, talent-based categories. So it's definitely an option that we can review. What I tend to say, I mean, if you're going to give a check for $800,000 to someone, it shouldn't be your last $800,000. So if you're worth 2, 3, 4+ million dollars, I think it becomes a really viable option. Or maybe you have a really wealthy uncle that's able to, effectively gift you that $800,000. The EB-5 can be a great category, and we've partnered with a broker dealer that can help with the vetting and choosing the projects. We don't get any compensation for EB-5 regional center investments. We bring in a close advisory firm that can help you with that, and then also run the whole visa petition process, source of funds, and everything involved there to help you. If the EB-5 is in fact the best fit for you to meet what you're looking for. Again, it's one of 4 options that we work with: EB-1A, EB-1C, EB-2 NIW, EB-5 for permanent residency in the United States, and then temporary visas: E2 visa, L1 visa, O1 visa, E1 visa, different categories to get you here in the US and settled initially before getting the green card if you want. We've had a lot of clients like from Turkey, Chile, other countries that they come to the US, they spend 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. They get US business experience. They have their kids become fully bilingual in English at US public schools, and then they go back home. they don't want a green card. They're looking to spend some time in the United States and go back to their home country.
Right. All right. If there are no more questions, let's wrap this up with how we can actually help um, the current H-1B holders with, or people who are looking to switch, or people who are looking at the H-1B with talent-based visas, and what our scope of services entail. Patrick, do you want to talk about it, or shall we do like?
Maybe you talk. I mean, I did a little recap of the services. I don't know if there's anything
Yeah.
specific you want to add on. And just a note, we're also publishing a video on the EB-5 visa that will come out this Sunday. So stay tuned to learn more about the EB-5 visa.
Yeah, that was an interview that I had.
Yeah, exactly. So that will be coming out. But Alaattin, maybe you take it from here and close the live stream out.
Yep, sure. Well, first of all, in order to summarize, and this has been the main topic of discussion today. There is the H-1B program that's been operating, and some people are for it and some people are against it. It's certainly a subject of big discussion, and it is lately becoming politicized, which is sort of, urging some people to take action and seek alternative routes. And we here at Visa Franchise can definitely help you with those alternative routes, whether it's an O1, whether it's E2, whether it's EB-1A or EB-2 NIW, or any other program that we can help you with, for depending on your unique situation. We always bring on the attorneys who are experienced in that particular visa category, who knows the ins and outs of it. As Patrick has discussed, some attorneys are comfortable with doing the O1 visa in 2 different routes. Some of our other attorneys are comfortable doing with all 4 different routes of it. So we will
Some
review.
people don't like doing e-commerce for the E2 visa. So
Yeah.
A wealth manager who we've done a lot of work with his clients in the past told me the other day, you're like a general contractor where you do some of the work yourself in house, and then you bring in the experts to do specific task and are running point and managing them. And with that model, if we have an attorney that's not being responsive to our clients, dropping the ball, providing sloppy work, we stop the engagement, and maybe we cut them off fully, or we just put it on hold and we give them feedback so we can hopefully work on other cases in the future. So we really hold everyone that we work with accountable. And that includes the clients, where it's clear expectations, what they need to fulfill and what we're fulfilling, and what everyone has to do, so you can get your visa as fast as possible and not have delays of 9 months, 12 months to get an E2 visa, but significantly less time.
Right. And to your point, Patrick, just a few closing words. Some of our services, basically our client services team is geared towards doing the legwork in certain things that attorneys aren't necessarily positioned or willing to do, such as an entire, building a personal brand, a PR strategy, seeking recognition for your own achievements, submitting your profile and your achievements for certain awards, finding you some judging opportunities. All of these things are certain things that take a lot of time and effort, but you give it 3 months to 6 months, you would realize that, I did indeed have a good profile, and these guys have helped me, project it, openly and clearly. And once the attorney starts working on the case, I'm like, okay, I can see the argument and I can support it with a lot of evidence. So 90% of the work is building that evidence and finding that evidence. I guess that's where we provide the most value. Yep, that's it, Patrick. If you guys want to reach out, there are a few different ways you can do so. You can shoot us an email or the WhatsApp number, or you can go to visafranchise.com, schedule a consultation call with either me or Patrick. Happy to help you anytime.
Awesome. Thanks again, Alaattin.
Thanks, Patrick.
Peace. Take care, guys.